So let us say that you have an old, but not too old laptop that cannot be updated to Windows 11, not from a lack of trying, but because Microsoft is a huge fan of e-waste. This might sound like a hypothetical scenario, yet millions of PCs are facing this exact same problem, including my ASUS VivoBook X570DD. So, rather than to throw away my laptop, I took the courageous step everyone says they will take, but few actually do. I installed Linux Mint OS and gave this beautiful hardware a second life. Now, this is not a video tutorial on how to do that. It is easier than you think, and there are plenty of guides already out there. Rather, this is a more personal video, one that addresses the question you clicked this video for. How is it for the average player to use a Linux system for gaming? And to that extent, what are the advantages of using Linux in general? Was it worth it? First things first, roll the intro. Before you think I'm a huge nerd on technology, I want to make the premise of this video very clear. I'm an average user just like you. Sure, I am an electrical engineer with some background in sensor technology, but when it comes to how I use my PC on an average day, I am, well, the average user. I have Windows 11 on my home PC and I had Windows 10 on my laptop, today's protagonist. Such a laptop, an ASUS VivoBook X570DD, equipped with 14GB of RAM, a Ryzen 5 3500U, and a GTX 1050 is quite neat. Definitely not the highest of ends when it comes to gaming laptops, but solid enough to do my university work back in the days, as well as some good old gaming. Some other titles run quite well, and even recent games can run on it with the settings adjusted. Long story short, I ended up in a situation where I do not use my laptop that often anymore, but where I hate the fact that it is in theory no longer supported by Microsoft, simply because Windows 11 does not want to be installed. And to be honest, even if I could somehow manage to update it, Windows 11 does not have the best of reputations, being clogged with useless AI features used for targeted ads rather than actually improved performance. Waiting for Windows 12 seems even to be a worse idea. So it is part the question, why not go for something else, like, say, Linux? Luckily for me, in December of last year, I installed Linux Mint FXC edition on a very old portable PC, one that I had from way back in the high school days, an HP Pavilion X2 10-inch detachable, so I had some experience how to do this. That HP only had 2GB of RAM and not even a proper GPU, so that was more of a rescue operation than an actual future investment. This time it was a bit different. We're talking about a portable PC that can indeed play video games and can indeed be used for myriads of tasks, with the sole drawback of being apparently not compatible with that infamous OS. So, one setup after the next, an installation here and there, 1, 2, 3, I got Linux to run on this ASUS laptop. Again, this is no tutorial on how to do that. Trust me when I tell you this is very easy to do. Do not be scared of opening the BIOS and seeing an 80s looking screen in front of you. Most of the time you have to just change 1 or 2 settings in order to get going. The reason why I went with Linux Mint Cinnamon, a daemon Ubuntu based system, is that it is considered to be friendly to new users. I mean, it straight up looks like Windows, and it is also developed within the European Union. It didn't disappoint the first time around, so no reason for it to disappoint now. Before discussing the various games I tried on Linux, let me just tell you how free I felt using an OS that it is not always looking down upon the user. There is beauty in having programs made open source, offering customization to even the core aspect of the PC, to have a local environment that feels truly owned by the user. This is my computer, not this device. It is my belief that technology has reached a point where priority is given to private, for-profit parties rather than the open source alternatives, despite these latter ones being very valid. To break the vicious cycle of monopolies forming and exploiting us to our last penny, we as the users must be proactive in seeking alternatives, starting from our ecosystems. Sure, Linux might not be as user-friendly as Microsoft's OS, but if you're playing on a PC rather than a console, you already value personalization, not to mention optimization. Being Linux so flexible, it allows the user to have greater control over the individual processes that are happening within the device, without the fear of having bloatware you might not even be aware of. Big corporations have ever so greater control over the user, not even selling software anymore, but licenses that need constant subscriptions for no apparent reason. We as users must fight this corporate menace by being proactive into gaining control over our own individual hardware, by using open source, non-profit alternatives made by users for users, and Linux might just be the place to start. As stated, I'm a casual PC user, so currently I do not switch my main PC OS, at least not yet. However, I feel quite proud of taking a first step and installing Linux on a secondary device, one that I can use to learn more and get more comfortable with a wonderful alternative in a saturated market. But that's enough Vox rhetoric for this video. What about gaming on this PC? Is it possible? Is it better? Is it recommendable? Let us start from the very beginning. While some games like Portal 2, Civilization and Terraria have native Linux support, many others do not have this luxury and are, at least in theory, not playable in this operating system. I say this in theory because Valve has been developing Proton, a software that essentially makes Windows games playable on Linux systems, mainly used for the famous Steam Deck, but not only. There are amazing videos that explain how this happens more in detail, but for the scope of this video, let's just say that this tool is some sort of emulator that makes playing Windows games possible on this PC. According to ProtonDB, virtually all games in my library can run on Linux via the latest version. Furthermore, according to the database, 40% of games in my library are considered Platinum, the highest rating, and 43% are considered Gold, second highest rating that should basically guarantee the software's functionality. The rest are ranked Silver or below, very few not listed. But of course, as we say in Italy, to trust is good, not to trust is better. This fancy website might state these optimistic results, but they're actually true. To test this statement for myself, I tried various games on this laptop, of course games that could run on a GTX 1050 that I have previously played here. I did not play all these 20 or so games from start to finish, but I did give them quite a nice stress test. ProtonDB is heavily based on community feedback, meaning not only I can share with the world my results, but my feedback directly helps the rating getting updated for the best and for the worst, to better reflect the validity of the results experienced by users, especially the ones using the latest version of Proton, in my case 10.0-3. So, how did my test go? How is it playing on Linux? The short answer is great for both. I truly did not face many issues. Out of the game I quote-unquote review, I gave a positive rating to 20 and a negative grade only to 1. Some games needed some tinkering, but I did not do anything too extreme, just change the Proton version. There are various gold-rated games that in my experience could be promoted no problem to Platinum. Games like 80 Days, Crazy Taxi and Sonic Lost World run as smoothly as I remember them when I played them back during the lockdown. Perhaps by the time I upload this video, they might have been promoted, but from my understanding, these changes take some time and more feedback. Even the silver-rated games like the Metal Slug series and Duke Nukem Forever gave me absolutely no problems while loading on Linux. Granted, it takes more than a random Italian fox like me to claim these games will run perfectly on every Linux system, but this is to say that even the third tiers of games can still work on your device without problems. Even games with no ratings gave me good results. The very small indie title Endling had no user reviews, meaning that I might have found a non-scouted game to be playable on Linux. I'm not too sure how many reviews are needed for a game to get any score, nor a Platinum one at that, but hey, I'm happy I was the first one and to this day the only one. There are a few games that gave me some odd experiences. Project Cars and Call of Juarez Gunslinger had very few instances of audio cracking, and from what I gathered, I'm not the only one. Valkyria Chronicles 4 was an odd one. The game ran at 60 FPS no problem during cutscenes at my turn, but when it was the enemy's face, the frame rate dropped to low 30s. It was not unbearable, but it was strange indeed. One thing that I must say is that, in general, it takes a bit more effort to play on Linux than on Windows. All the games I had some issues with probably had manual solutions that I did not investigate further. As reported in ProtonDB, there are ways to tune games just right to avoid bugs, but that's something that I do not see the casual user doing. Nevertheless, new versions of Protons are being developed quickly. Many, and I mean many, were the games that went from not playable to somewhat playable to running smoothly in record times. The average Steam library today can probably be played on a Linux system without too much of a hassle, and in few years' times, perhaps we'll reach even greater compatibility targets. The future of gaming on Linux is shining, and I'm extremely happy to have tested it out for myself, not to mention all the advantages there are in having a digital future owned by the masses. Keep it up, old penguin! Let's see what the just released kernel 7 has to offer. Linux has a bit of an odd aura around it. The general public still sees it as an odd operating system, despite the fact there are many user-friendly distros like Mint. I was part of those users, until my brother told me more about it, and as I'm telling you now. Linux is not the future, it is the present, and the presentation and the promises it makes have to be applauded. For the people who have an ASUS VivoBook X570DD, this video was extremely useful, like tailor-made for you. But even for everybody else who has a similar laptop with a similar story, to give Linux a try, you can always reinstall Windows in a second moment. Linux is getting greater for gaming, and I believe it is worth your time, and it is free too. So what are you waiting for? For me to end this video? If you made it this far, I wanted to thank you one too many Linux times for watching today's video. These past months between modding older consoles and installing Linux on two different PCs, I feel ever so more confident that technology can indeed be personalized, owned by the user. Did I convince you to check out Linux, at least on a secondary computer of yours? Wish you all a wonderful day, and until next time, arrivederci.